Hello and welcome to the WST Level 3 podcast. My name's Chris Scott and we've put these podcasts together to help our students and other students pass the WST Level 3 exam. One of the things we do is we have a large amount of tasting support products that will help most students pass the tasting exam, as well as our exam questions. Our tasting support includes feedback on your tasting note, mock tasting exams, tasting masterclasses followed by tasting exam resets, as well as a guide that accompanies our audio guide to the WST SAT. Do consider our exam questions as well. We've got over 500 questions and a mixture of multi-choice and long answer exam style questions. Enjoy. Hi, my name's Chris Scott and I'm here with Simon Back from Backsberg Estates in South Africa. How are you, mate?
Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Good. That's a very casual how you doing, mate. I suppose that's from fatalism that you're going to lose the World Cup, isn't it?
No.
Sorry, it's a bit of a mean one to start off with.
Can only get better from here.
True. Okay, what we're going to talk about today is a bit about Backsberg, a bit about the history of Backsberg within the wider Stellenbosch-Paarl area. Also a wee bit about Stellenbosch and Paarl. And hopefully we're going to touch on a wee bit about some of the virus issues associated with the wine regions and what's being done there, how's it being managed, all that sort of stuff. Does that sound all right?
Perfect.
Brilliant. Let's start off with Backsberg though. Backsberg's been around for a while and one guise or the other, in fact a different name that got sold off. Do you want to just give a quick overview of the vineyard and winery and the brand?
Sure. So my great-grandfather purchased the property in 1916, and that was after he came out from Lithuania around 1902.
Is that Sydney with a Y?
That's my grandfather. So my great-grandfather, he was called Charles, and we often abbreviated it to CL. That's a lot of people called him that. So he purchased the property in 1916, and to begin with, no offense to him, he didn't come from any winemaking background whatsoever. And
he was a butcher, wasn't he?
Yeah, he owned a butchery in a town close by to the farm called Paarl. And the story has it that one day someone came into the butchery and said, well, hey, do you want to buy a farm? And I think he saw it as an amazing opportunity and sold his butchery and bought what is today where Backsberg is.
I'm selling the Brooklyn Bridge if you're interested in that as well.
How much?
£2, right?
Sold. So I mean, at the time, on the property there was, a number of fruit trees, some peaches and plums, and it wasn't actually planted to vineyard. But at the time, that was kind of the thing that was going on in the area, and he started planting vineyard as well. But it was really my grandfather, Sydney, who really started getting into producing fine wine and bottling wine. I mean, at the time, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the history of South African wine, but there was a
port.
Well, there was a lot of producers mostly sold their grapes onto co-ops and what have you, and KWV was kind of the main player at that time, and so it was really in the late 60s and the early 70s where Sydney, my grandfather, started getting into the idea of bottling and producing great wine, and he built the brand within South Africa and really put Backsberg on the map as such, and I think it's a fairly household name in South Africa at least. And my dad, then Michael, came into the business, and I guess post 1990 and 1994, he's taken Backsberg abroad into some of the export markets, and now there's yours truly. So no pressure on me.
And moving forward, let's talk about Backsberg, where it is in the coastal region.
Sure.
First of all, where is the coastal region in South Africa?
Yeah, coastal can be it's actually a bit of a confusing geographic unit in the sense that it encompasses a number of different areas, which some of them are actually hardly coastal in nature, and I think that can be a bit confusing. But that the coastal area would include the likes of Stellenbosch, the likes of Paarl, the likes of Franschhoek. But the vineyard essentially is located in the area closest to Paarl, and the specific ward, which is kind of a subsection of Paarl, is Simonsberg Paarl. The Simonsberg being a mountain that the farm is situated on.
Is that like a geographical indicator that they're introducing in Australia?
Well, I mean, the wine of origin system has been around in South Africa for many years now, and I think it's really great as far as getting a sense of where the properties are.
Simonsberg Park, is that a...
It's a ward, basically. It's kind of the most specific, if I can say.
Okay, so, do you write Simonsberg Park on your wines?
So if all the grapes are from that particular area, then we would normally call it Simonsberg Park. But in a weird sense, labeling it coastal can actually, it sometimes gives people a better sense of the wine, and it sometimes can be seen as more favorable as well. You think coastal, you think maybe cool climates, so it's a little bit tricky, and sometimes depending on what we want to do, we'll go either way.
What is the climate like? Because you've got Stellenbosch and Paarl, and your winery seems to be almost midway between Stellenbosch and Paarl.
Yeah, we sort of we're in the middle of sort of Paarl, Stellenbosch, and Franschhoek. As far as climate is concerned, we're the farm, or the property, and the vineyards are situated, on the slopes of the Simonsberg mountain. So fortunately, it's a little bit cooler. We get some nice breezes coming through there. But I mean, Stellenbosch and Paarl and Franschhoek, for that matter, can get quite warm.
Yeah.
Especially on some of the valley floors. It can get quite hot. But I mean, it's largely Mediterranean, in nature.
And the grape varieties, obviously, Chenin Blanc to me must be South African's grape variety. I know it's grown in the Loire, but I always associate Chenin Blanc with South Africa, just like you associate Malbec with Argentina and things like that. But it's not really a grape variety you guys have embraced and sort of said, this is our future, even though I sort of have a strong association with it.
Yeah, I mean, Chenin Blanc has always been the sort of workhorse of South African white varieties. It's hugely versatile. You can basically grow it anywhere, and it produces a wide variety, of styles of wine. I think people are now starting to take it more seriously, and there's some very interesting Chenin Blanc coming out of South Africa, and I'm sure the Chenin Blanc guys would say that maybe this is the future for South Africa. We'll have to see.
Syrah seems to be quite popular as well. A lot of people bigging up Syrah out of South Africa.
No, for sure.
And I've had some pretty decent Savies, not as good as New Zealand, obviously, but
yeah, Shiraz is definitely picking up in South Africa. I think there's a lot of good examples coming out, and also kind of a variety in style as well. Some very Rhone-like Shirazes coming out, and then right through to the kind of more bolder fruit-driven styles as well.
Sure. And obviously Pinotage, synonymous really with South Africa. Is Pinotage in South Africa considered quite a good grape variety? Or?
Yeah, Pinotage is always a tricky one. I mean, it's people have a bit of a love-hate relationship with the grape. You have people that are championing it. I mean, here in London, I've chatted to a few people, and they just love Pinotage. But then you'll chat to the next person, and they just completely despise it. So it doesn't have a lot of middle ground, as it were. I mean, in South Africa, there's a number of producers that have backed it, and I think it can produce great wine. I think one of the issues sometimes is that the Pinotages are drunk too young, and I think with a bit of age they can definitely improve and can produce some really strong wine.
Do you see a difference in style or flavours from cool to hotter regions in South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to manage, the grapes, and sometimes when Pinotages become a bit overripe, the issues that arise. But I think for me, the biggest thing is the aging and how you do that. For me, I prefer some of the lighter styles of Pinotage, the more fruit-driven. Sometimes they can be a bit over the top, and I'm not wild about that style.
One of the things I think some people don't like about Pinotage is that it can often have a greeny, rubbery note to it. And I used to always associate Pinotage with that rubbery note.
Sure.
We did an interview with a guy called Simon Harrop. He's the faults man at the IWC, and he sat down with me and said, no, that's not a rubbery characteristic, it's not Pinotage, it's a green character associated with vines that are really struggling and shutting down mid-season. Is that your interpretation of some of those notes?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you're alluding to like the issues of virus that are in South Africa. I mean, just to give your listeners a sense of what that is. I mean, in the late 90s, or the sort of mid 90s, I think, South Africa saw that there was a huge opportunity. Now we could suddenly export wines, and I think there was just a rush to plant different varieties. And I think some of the quality control at the nurseries was perhaps not quite up to scratch, and I think there was plant material that went out that wasn't 100%, and now we have what's called leaf roll virus, and basically that inhibits the vine's ability to photosynthesize and ripen the grapes, and hence you can get some of these green characters coming through.
For me, I read it as a sort of a greeny note or sometimes a rubbery note in the wine, but it also affects tannins and acidity as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right then, Simon, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks a lot.